Hey friends, it's Marian, and today I'm going to be doing a compilation of all my processes for InkTober52 in January of this year. Before we begin, please go follow me on all my social media, which will all be in the description down below, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. I know it's almost the end of February, and most of you are probably over January by now. I planned to get this video up earlier, but I got a really bad flu, so it's better. If you'd like to draw with me, grab your supplies and create along. Enough of me talking, let's draw together. Alright, so this is my Inktober sketchbook, which I've used for 2024, 25, and now 26. I prefer to do multiple drawings per page because I want to be able to use this sketchbook for as long as possible and not have to buy a new one every year. 2 weeks went by without any new prompts, but finally the first prompt of January was Glide. When this prompt came out, my boyfriend and I had seen Studio Ghibli's Nausicaa for the first time. When I saw she had a glider, I knew I would be drawing Nausicaa on her glider for this prompt. I thought Nausicaa was a lovely movie with stunning visuals and a very well-written plot. I even found that it was very allegorical to the Book of Revelation. Before I explain, please know that there will be spoilers if you haven't seen this movie yet. I'll put a timestamp if you don't want spoilers, but for everyone else, let me explain how I think this movie is similar to Revelation. Revelation is a book of signs for the return of Jesus Christ. Even though Nausicaa isn't directly about this book, I found that the parts of the story could possibly represent some of the signs in Revelation. It takes place 1,000 years after the 7 days of fire, which destroyed human civilization and most of the earth. Even though civilization was destroyed, humans survived, but the toxic jungle formed, which contained lethally toxic organisms that threatened to spread all over the whole world. Meanwhile, Nausicaa is the princess of the Valley of the Wind, where the air is as pure as it can be, and she goes to the toxic jungle to do experiments to find the true nature of the jungle and the world she lives in. When a ship from Tolmikia lands in the Valley of the Wind due to an attack by toxic insects, Nausicaa has to do what she can to defend her home and stop the jungle from spreading. As a swarm of Omus comes near her home, she has to get them back to their home, and the giant warrior comes out who tries to fight them but fails. Nausicaa is nearly killed in the process, but is resurrected and comes back home through fields of gold and a bright blue dress. Before I explain Revelation, I should explain the beginning of Genesis so the comparisons make more sense. When God created the world, he put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, a paradise where they could visit God, could have all the fruits of any of the trees, except for the tree of knowledge of good and evil. When the snake told them that they could eat the fruit, they gave in, and it led to the fall of humanity. As the world became more corrupt following the event, God sent Noah and his family to build the ark, and they would repopulate the earth after God had destroyed it with the flood. He promised to never destroy the world again, but it would take a long time for him to fully restore it. In Revelation, the signs of Christ's return are plagues, natural disasters, and locusts of demons. Moreover, the Antichrist will come, appearing as an angel of light, but actually evil. Jesus will come at the blow of a horn, and Satan and his followers will be cast into the lake of fire, while God's followers will live in heaven on earth for 1,000 years. After 1,000 years, God himself will come to join us. He'll briefly release Satan from the lake of fire to tempt us for one last time, and Satan will then be cast back into it, and God will fully restore the earth, and there will be streets of gold and a river of life flowing through it, and God and his followers will live in it for eternity. The 7 days of fire represents the corrupted world after the snake tempted Adam and Eve and later the flood. The toxic jungle and the Omus are the plagues and locusts, and the giant warrior is the Antichrist. To wrap it up, Nausicaa's resurrection and the fields of gold represent Christ's return and the restored earth. For this next prompt, Cozy, I actually did 2 drawings. The one I'm doing right now is one that I came up with in the spur of a moment, and the other one is an idea that I came up with and got attached to. When I did this piece, it was snowing where I live. Actually, it was sleeting. My dad brought up the idea of building a sleet man because nobody talks about sleet. Since nobody talks about sleet, I decided to make a sleet brush in ibis paint and then draw a sleet man. It was quite a challenge to make this brush because I had to apply a lot of different physics and effects to make it look real. and I also wanted it to be expressive at the same time. Ultimately, my brush turned out well, and if you're an Ibis Paint user, you can use my QR code and install it to your program. Before I show you the second cozy piece I did, I'd like to show you how I plan for my Inktober pieces. By the way, I'm more of a mental planner, but for this video, I'm planning on paper to give you a general idea of how I plan, which you can try too. I start by thinking of objects, specific characters, environments, memories, and current art challenges, which I could use for the prompt. Then I branch off those categories and think of different subjects for them. When I come up with an idea that I get attached to, I think of specific ways that I could interpret the subject and draw the one that I think would be the most interesting. In this case, it was a memory of when my cousin said, "Tea book!" I came up with a book about tea, a teacup next to a book, and a teapot that looks like a book, or vice versa. After I did some sketches to figure out which idea would work best, I decided to draw a tea set where everything looks like books. I had a lot of fun interpreting this one, and I would definitely love to have my own book tea set. Now, let me explain my memory. I went to visit family in May of 2024, and there was one day when we decided to get snow cones together. As we were eating our snow cones, we decided to play a game where two people would think of a word, and then come up with a word that could relate to both of those words. Then a word that could relate to the two new words, and keep going till they ended up with the same word. My aunt and my cousin did a round together, and they came up with tea and book. Since my cousin was only 5 at the time, she said, "Tea book!" Oh, little kids give us such good ideas with all those interesting things they say and do. If I was playing that game and we said tea and book, I would have thought of cozy. Nothing feels cozier than putting on a soft blanket with some hot tea and a good book. But that's just me. I know everyone's different, and cozy might look different for other people. Some people like to sit by the fire or listen to soft lo-fi music, and some might even have a completely different idea of what cozy is to them. I'd like to know more about you, so in the comments, let me know what your idea of cozy is. Is it with soft blankets, hot tea, and a good book like me? One of the other two that I mentioned? Or something completely different? The last prompt for January was crunch. I had a hard time coming up with an idea for this prompt, so I narrowed it down by asking myself how I could incorporate my faith into it, and I drew a tiny seed sprouting. I also did this piece digitally because I cracked my phone screen that week, which is what I do all my recording on, and it takes up a lot of battery, so I was worried about the cracks getting worse if I charged it for a long time and couldn't watch it. While the obvious choice for this prompt would have been to draw a crunchy food, I wanted to do something different for it because I figured everyone would be drawing crunchy foods. Thinking of ways I could incorporate my faith into this prompt was a great idea because it gave me a way to stand out from others while also becoming closer to God and spreading His word even more, which are all things I greatly value in my art. Using my art to share God's word helps me to plant thousands of seeds in people's minds, so a sprouting seed it had to be. To further emphasize my faith, I included Luke 8:15 in my piece. But the seed on good soil stands for those with a noble and good heart, who hear the word retaining and by preserving produce a crop. I thought this was a good verse to draw because one of my goals with my faith art, as I said, is to gather thousands of seeds in people's minds. When they have a seed, it means that Jesus is somewhere in their minds. Not everyone will come to believe, but the right people will ponder God's teachings, which will water the seed and produce a crop. And that's a wrap for January of 2025's Inktober 52. I had a lot of fun making these pieces and showing you my processes for making them. If you created with me today, You can share your art on Instagram with the hashtag MakingWithMarian and tag me at Artist Marian Hayes, and maybe I'll share your art in my next video. Thank you for watching today. God bless you, and I hope to see you in my next one.